join.
Yeah, it'll either let everyone in or it will stop anyone from getting in. There we
People are
go. Oh,
coming
we got
in.
Melinda here. Cool. Hey, Melinda. Nice.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for
Good to
inviting
see you.
me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for those who don't know, Melinda and I got to chat yesterday or the day before, and if you don't know, Melinda's like best in class in the world at facial everything to do with faces, especially digital ones, and she was on the MetaQuest Pro team as well, developing a lot of the amazing technology that we use at Agile Lens quite a bit. Hey, Lynn, welcome, Lynn. Cool. Yeah, and while people are filing in, I'll just mention that this will be a pretty loose session. Normally, of course, we have a very clear, like we're doing a pixel streaming class today, and have a proper curriculum with a presentation and a sample project that everyone can download ahead of time and all that. This is the first, actually, let me go ahead and start recording just because this is also just useful context for anyone who's only going to see the recording. Cool. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. As people are filing in, just to set context a little bit, this is a little bit of an information session. It's a little bit office hours. We're going to have some little bite-sized tutorials here, but this is mostly to introduce something that we haven't really done much of before, which is to start doing these more public-facing classes. For those who don't know, several of us here have had these relationships with Epic Games for a number of years, and we've developed courses and we've taught classes on behalf of Epic Games. And then we have an authorized training center in New York City. And most of that has been more corporate training, like a company saying, hey, can we please learn X, Y, and Z things? But this is kind of new because we're trying to do something that's a little more public facing and open for anyone to join. And so part of what I'm trying to start to get a better handle on, especially in this session today, is exactly what kinds of things people want to learn. Because we've got maybe 50, 60 courses kind of just like ready to go. But if no one wants to learn pixel streaming, then I don't want to offer a pixel streaming course. If everyone's very comfortable with all the things they're doing with MetaHumans on their own, with on-demand videos, then maybe it's not worth doing a live session. So also while people are filing in, I've got a little survey, and I have a Zoom version of this as well, but also just drop in the website. Oh, actually, that might not work if I don't do the HTTPS. And it's just a bit of an opportunity for me to start to build out who the demographic is of who might be interested in training content. Welcome, Chris. Cool. And we'll get started here maybe around 11:05 properly. But I've got Marshall and June in the chat, who are also both part of Agile Lens and have taught with me before. So I'm going to also let them chime in as they want. Everyone can chime in as they want, but Marshall and June in particular can chime in the most whenever they feel like it. Cool. And it looks like, yeah, having the waiting room off just lets people join right in. Hey there, Andre. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, and while we're waiting here for a couple minutes, I'm just curious to hear anyone who wants to chime in and maybe give a little introduction and say what's exciting them these days. No pressure. Feel free to just unmute.
Hi, everyone. Good morning or afternoon, good night. Not sure where everybody is. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I have more experience with Unity than Unreal. I've been doing a switch and we're using Unreal for VR purposes. But now, most excited what's going to happen with Unreal, with all big changes to Unreal 6. And Also, I haven't had time to explore using MCP and AI with Unreal, but I'm excited to explore those possibilities. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Those are all really great topics that we would love to talk more about. Thanks, Andre. And Andre, sorry, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Ontario, Canada, but I'm originally
Wonderful.
from Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. A few of us are in the New York City area, so Eastern Standard Time. And Wit is also on Eastern Standard Time, though he's a little further south of us. Welcome, Wit. Cool. Okay. Well, since we're recording, and I know there's plenty of folks who messaged me to say that they want to see what we're going to talk about, but they can't actually make the live session. Let's try to use our time together well. Hey, Sultan. Sultan, by the way, is about to go check out the Four Seasons holodeck over in Mountain View shortly after this. So we'll be excited to hear his thoughts on that. For those who don't know, just a fun project that Agile Lens has been involved with. Back in 2022, we got brought on board by Dbox and got hired along with a company called PureBlink out of Toronto to help build this very luxurious holodeck, as it's been called, to help sell real estate for Four Seasons. And there's a version of that in Austin. There's one at Dbox's office in New York City. And now there's kind of this traveling version that's been making its way along the West Coast. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what Sultan thinks of it after he sees it today.
Very excited, yeah.
Yeah, good to see you. Cool. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. And again, I'll just post it one more time. For anyone who has not already filled out this poll, it's just a handy way for us to start to calibrate where the most interest is and what kind of content they would like to learn right now. And then basically the plan is that I think we'll skip office hours this Friday because our Friday suddenly got a little bit busy. But the general rhythm is intending to be every Wednesday, 11 a.m. this time, there is a course that you can sign up for ad hoc. I think we're also just going to have some kind of membership structure where, you can get a discount if you want to attend most courses. And then Fridays will be this kind of Q&A office hour thing. One of the most fun parts of the teaching that I got to do with Epic Games was actually just these little sessions where people would come with their questions and they'd show their projects and they'd say, hey, this CVAR isn't behaving the way I thought it was going to, et cetera, et cetera. And then we just troubleshoot it together. Sometimes they'd send the questions ahead of time. And so then I try to build like a little sample project to walk through those things for the whole class. But those are quite fun. And I like doing that because whenever we teach a course, we're trying to make it as relevant and useful as possible to everyone who's in the session, but there's going to be sections there. Oh, hey, Lynn. Yeah, good questions. Lynn says, I'm confused about how long the courses are, how many Wednesdays. Every Wednesday until the end of time. I think the intention would be every Wednesday unless there's a fair amount of warning that it will not happen, like a holiday or something like that. The courses are 2 hours over Zoom. A lot of courses will also come with a sample project that you can open ahead of time. No. Sorry, that's intended to be a longer subscription. Any prices you see on the website right now are placeholders, and a lot of the way this is all going to be parsed out will happen directly after this class. So yeah, apologies if anything you're seeing is throwing you off right now. I think the only price that might be accurate right now might be the actually, no, I'm not even going to say. I'm not sure. The pricing is still going through a couple loops. So yeah, that will be established shortly, hopefully by the end of the day today. I was going to say, yeah, 2-hour classes Wednesdays, 2-hour office hours on Fridays, and then also yeah, we'll have a calendar. We'll have a calendar, so hopefully you can see a few weeks in advance, at least a month at a time, what is coming up. So for example, if you're like, oh yeah, I want to sign up for every single class for that month, then that's a good time to subscribe to at least a monthly subscription for that month. But honestly, like I've been in a position where for the most part in my 300 plus classes that I've been able to teach, I've just been told, hey, Alex, can you go teach this course on Wednesday? And I haven't had to, concern myself as much with the business side of it or the administrative side of it. And so this is a little bit of a new journey to structure how this is going to happen in a more public setting. Okay, so with all that being said, let's chat. And I'll go ahead and share my screen over here. And I've got this little presentation. We've got this nice little tool called Spatial Deck that we're building a lot of our presentations in now. Just give that a little refresh. And I think this might be how a lot of the presentations get structured. I'll try to do PDFs and PowerPoints and things like that too. But the idea is that you have a nice kind of accessible interactive version of seeing a little bit of what's going on. And so this is the poll so far for anyone who's filled it out. I was asking about how would you like to engage with classes, single serving versus monthly subscription versus like packaged curriculums where you're paying for like these 8 courses that are all relevant to ArcViz or, you know, creating MetaHumans or something like that. And then, yeah, I did some more specific topics. Good to see XR and spatial computing is at the top right now, as that is the thing that my colleagues and other instructors and I have the most expertise in. And then we've got exporting out of Unreal. I'm very pleasantly surprised to see that that's second place right now because as I've been telling a few folks over the past few weeks, that's kind of my current obsession. It's a relatively new thing, but I've got all these plugins and systems and methodologies in the works for getting things from Unreal Engine to Reality Kit and RenderMan and WebGPU and Three.js. And it's been more productive than I would have expected. Like I finally have a way to get baked light maps from Unreal into something like Reality Kit and Apple Vision Pro. And I didn't know that that would be possible. So of course, you know, AI is helping with some of these tools in building them, but I'm trying to understand how they all work. And especially in cases where it's something that I've tried to build on my own and failed, like, what did Claude figure out that I was not able to figure out? So in some cases, there's going to be plugins, and I'll have classes where it's like, you get this plugin and, you know, we're going to learn how to use it and hopefully it helps your workflow. In other cases, it will be, you know, start from a blank, empty, vanilla Unreal Engine project, and we're going to go do some stuff from there. Then we've got 5.8 new features. Great. Motion capture, MetaHumans, ArcViz, Unity, Unreal. Excellent. All good. And then how much AI? People are okay. It seems like so far we got people okay with learning AI workflows. We'll talk MCP. We'll talk, you know, having plugins get created. We'll talk all sorts of different ways that AI can aid you in your Unreal Engine journey. And the idea here, when I said all workflows, is intending to be not just Unreal related, but like I want you guys to know how to set up something like this thing I've got called Claude Fleet, which is something that, yes, helps us out with Unreal Engine, but it also is useful in a variety of other circumstances if you've got multiple computers and you want them to all be able to be logged into Claude at the same time and all talk to each other. Interestingly enough, I've had this out for a while. I'm not sure when the first commit was, but Codex just actually introduced something very similar to this, where there's now a thing you can do in Codex to say, allow it to communicate with other machines that are also logged in. And so, you know, you use Tailscale to get everything on the same VPN. You can use Telegram to like get all sorts of notifications and manage all the different sessions going on. And this is just a free open source tool. And if you don't want to read through all this, you can point Codex or Claude or Gemini at this repo and it can basically set it up for you, or a good part of it for you, which is great. I also made a fun little game called Fleet Commander, which is actually just a little gamified way of teaching you how to use the tool. And that's something I'm trying to do more and more of as well, is to make sure that there's a clear tutorial. And on the AI side, that's happened a number of times where I've had Claude build something and it's like, I think this is really cool. I don't quite understand it, which makes me nervous. And so I'll often pair a thing that gets created with some kind of gamified version of understanding how it works. And sometimes it's like, you know, because I'm a visual learner, I like to see things showcased. After the WWDC 26 announcements, there were all these new announcements of what, you know, Mac and Vision OS and iOS could do. And I have a lot of trouble watching those presentations because they're a little bit too curated and everyone feels like robots to me in it. And so at a certain point, I was like, hey, Claude, I'm going to bed right now. Can you build me a Vision OS app that's just going to pull the beta of Vision OS 27 and just like show me a bunch of the new features? And sure enough, I woke up the next morning and was able to put on, you know, Apple Vision Pro this way. You don't put it on this way. And just see this app it had created that was like Here's an example of the new cloth physics. Here's an example of the new ways it can ingest a Gaussian splat. Here's this new light spill feature that I've now incorporated into this like projector app. And you might be wondering, if I asked my instance of Claude or Codex to build me an app that incorporates all the visionOS 27 features, would it also do what Alex's did? And the answer is no. So one of the things that I want to teach is how you build up a second brain, this series of markdown files, often, inside Git, so that they can be tracked across computers and sessions, that basically becomes a guide for your AI to know tools and techniques that it can use across a variety of workflows, including Unreal Engine. So the only reason that my Claude was able to go ahead and build a visionOS app from scratch was because I had walked it through, hey, here's how I set up a visionOS project, here's how I connect it to this and this and this, here's how I get it onto test flight. And so it has understood all of those workflows in a way that a fresh Claude session would not understand it. So that's one of the main things I want to teach is like, how do you build your second brain to know about a lot of the techniques you do? Because I don't want AI replacing the creative side of what we do. I want AI to replace the rote memorization, the administrative work, the things where it's like, like I know how to get this thing on test flight. I just don't feel like going through the 16 steps and dealing with plist files and making sure all the permissions are correct and like all the little gotchas where it's really easy to miss one. And then you're like, oh, now I got to start over from scratch. To me, that's the best use of AI is like, just take care of all the checkboxes where you just need to make sure you do this and this and this and this and this and this. So that's a little bit of my philosophy going into it. And by the way, thanks, Sultan, for the comment in the chat. Anyone who wants to say anything or ask any questions while we're chatting here, feel free to chime right in there in the bottom. I've got a little bit of this presentation here. I'll whiz through some of this. There's too many slides, but this is also very much co-authored by Claude, by looking in the second brain and knowing, the kinds of things we're doing at Agile Lens and the kind of work we do. And I have not seen this presentation yet. So I know kind of like what's in here, but we're just going to talk through a few of the things that we want to teach, the things we want to cover, and of course, hear feedback from the great audience here. And I do want to just give a quick shout out to the different folks in the class who are also instructors and teachers themselves, because we've got some really good ones. I just lost my Zoom toolbar because I don't want to miss anyone. But we've got June and Wit and Marshall, who are all with me on the Agile Lens team, and they also all are excellent instructors, and you will definitely see them over the coming weeks and months teaching all sorts of great classes. And then we have Melinda Ozel, who's actually offering an incredible workshop that I'm excited to join in the next couple weeks about FACS, FACS, and Melinda knows more than anyone about how faces work, especially when it comes to avatars and metahumans and that sort of thing. And Melinda, don't be afraid to shamelessly self-promote and drop into the chat a link to how people can find out more about your work and your workshops and that sort of thing. And then I know, Marianne is also an instructor. Saurabh is also on the Agile Lens team, and Sorb has done some really good little lessons as well. And then anyone else who I'm missing who's also an authorized instructor or does teaching, feel free to just, say something in the chat and introduce yourself to say hi to everyone and about the things you teach. Because I think one thing we all have in common in this room right now is we're all interested in learning new things and improving our workflows and better expressing our visions and creativity, which is great. Okay, so it looks like that the first thing Claude wanted to start with was some of the things that Agile Lens does. And this is not so much intended to be a showcase as, yes, wonderful, Lynn, professor of art at the Ontario College of Art and Design University. Very cool. This beginning part of the presentation is really just to establish some of our bona fides and some of the ways that we use Unreal Engine in our workflows every day, and how that's kind of informing some of what we are very confident teaching. A Christmas Carol is this sandbox production that we spent 5 years working on, not the entire 5 years, but when we get closer to the holiday season, we would basically reimagine the entire show every year from 2021 to 2025. It started in Unreal Engine 4.27 in the first iteration of MetaHumans, and we learned how to puppeteer the MetaHumans in a variety of different mocap methods, starting with LiveLink Face and Xsense and Rococo, and eventually getting to the point where we could use things like Melinda's wonderful technology in MetaQuest Pro to actually allow the actors to be in the world and have their faces controlled and do all sorts of IK, so that even without a full mocap suit, there can be a very robust live performance happening. Cool. And thank you, Melinda, for posting about the FACS class on August 22nd. I hope to see a bunch of you there. Other few things, 4 seasons we already talked about. Yes, and Sultan's going to see this in a few hours, but very large open scale spaces. And again, there's a few of them now. And we've got these lovely videos by D-Box, and you can see it's just a very large open room where you can put on headsets and walk around and feel like you are in this hyper photorealistic space. And one of the things that was a big goal for this project was to achieve a level of photorealism you don't typically see in VR. And so one of the ways that's achieved is with ray tracing, which you would normally never do in VR because it's incredibly expensive. But PureBlink did a phenomenal job like optimizing these scenes so that there was enough bandwidth to be able to turn on things like ray traced glass reflections and have bounces. And even the headsets, the MetaQuest Pros in the experience, are reflective themselves. And so 2 people looking at each other can see the reflections of their headsets in each other. So it's a very impressive project, and I'm really proud of the entire team who's worked on that. But that has trained us at Agile Lens in a lot of the complexities of getting, photorealistic ArcViz in VR, and being able to do full wireless, large-scale multiplayer, co-located walk-around experiences using things like shared spatial anchors. And thanks, Sorb, for introducing yourself there as well. And then some of the ways that that's informed how we tell a story and how we take people through a VR experience. A lot of the people at Agile Lens have backgrounds in architecture. A lot of them also have backgrounds in theater. And I think we take a lot of pride in being able to tell a good spatial story, which is why we are often seen on things like the spatial storytelling track at SIGGRAPH or at FMX over in Germany. Mocap from just a webcam. I mean, that's actually borrowing quite a bit from Amarak's other GitHub, so that's kind of funny. But we've got different ways of getting things out of Unreal. This goes a little bit back to one of these other things I'm testing, which is being able to export everything from Unreal, get it into WebXR, get it into WebGPU, and then whatever kind of animation is happening in Unreal, whatever kinds of assets are moving around, whatever kinds of light changes are happening, you're seeing that in basically a replicated Three.js scene in the browser. And I've been focusing on this more on the live performance side. Saurabh on our team has been doing this in a really cool way with things like our architecture work, with like exporting, architecture scenes out of Unreal Engine and getting them over into a browser setup. Yes, and then we've got these fun little sprite versions of me leveling up as I've learned these different tools over the years. Godot's relatively recent, Blunder's relatively recent. Actually, that's as good a time as any to mention that even though we're going to mostly talk about Unreal Engine in these classes, when it comes to AI, Unreal Engine has a few limitations. The documentation online is often not up to date. AI can't read .uasset and .umap files unless you have the whole MCP thing open in the editor open. And it's a very bloated code base. There's a ton of stuff inside the Unreal Engine code base. So even when your AI knows all the right ways to work through Unreal Engine, it can still burn a lot of tokens to do fairly basic tasks, which is why I've started to do more things with Three.js and Godot and even, Xcode, because all of those tools are more friendly to AI and more readable. Like you can open up any Godot project, and you know what? I'll just do an example of this real quick. Like I've been building a game with my kids called Tank Commander. Nope, that's not going to come up that way. Is it Tank Commander VR? I'll just search all my repos. But I'll show you like an example Godot project, MetaHuman Godot. And yeah, so anything in here that I open up, all of these files in here can be read directly in GitHub, directly by an AI, directly by a person. It's all readable. Versus if you try to open up a .uasset file, it would be gobbledygook. I've got some work I'm doing to try to create something like a Rosetta Stone that can translate some information from .uasset and .umap files without having to have Unreal Engine open. But it's an inherent limitation because of the way Unreal Engine is designed. This might be something where there's more this might be some of the work that Verse and some of the other UE6 features are hoping to address. But at the moment, I will say that in a lot of cases, I'm getting things out of Unreal or finding other ways to use some of these other tools as part of our workflow if I want AI to be a good co-pilot for the things we're building, because other tools can just talk to AI much easier. Just a little bit more about Agile Lens and some of the companies we've worked with, especially in the XR space. We've been very fortunate to get, early access to a lot of devices. We, just won an Android XR Catalyst grant, so we're going to be able to start experimenting with the XReal Aura glasses. We were the first company in the United States to get access to a Pico Swan, and we've been doing some cool stuff with that. And so certainly, because it's a privilege to get early access to a lot of these tools, this is another thing we want to teach. We want to be able to help people understand, why would I buy a Pico Swan over an Apple Vision Pro? Or why would I use a MetaQuest Pro versus a MetaQuest 3 or a Vive headset? We've played enough with all these different devices in a lot of different contexts that I think we're in a good place to talk about, pros and cons of different versions of them, and how they interface with Unreal. Some of the Android XR stuff is really interesting, like the new Steam frame support in 5.8 allows for a level of interaction with Android XR that actually kind of works both ways. Like an Android XR build in Unreal Engine will work both with things like Galaxy XR and future Android XR devices, including, I think, Project Aura, and it will also work with Steam Frame. So as we try to push toward an open XR future with kind of one plugin to rule them all, the hope is that, we can also help people understand the simplest path toward having one Unreal Engine project and outputting it to 5 different headsets. So I already have courses in the box that are intro to VR, standalone VR, desktop VR, and then an advanced VR course as well that goes into much more nuanced, fine tuning and tips and tricks that would be a little bit overwhelming to a new user. So, once I feel like there's a critical mass of people who are beyond the basics and really want to dive into that more complicated stuff, I'll be excited to teach that class. Oh, cool. Yeah, and that's nice to hear Andre found the MetaHuman Godot project on GitHub. One thing that's tricky, and I need to do a little more research into this, is I want to share MetaHuman assets directly. And I know the MetaHuman EULA has changed a little bit ever since 5.8. And for those who don't know, if you go to metahumans.com/devkit, there's now this kind of MIT open source GitHub repo called Open Rig Logic, and this is intended to help streamline getting metahumans out of Unreal and into other places. It doesn't do clothing or grooms right now. I've got some cool workarounds that actually still make that work quite well. The metahuman that I have running in Godot in Apple Vision Pro, I think looks absolutely beautiful. Really great shadows, great grooms, all that good stuff. Great grooms. That's two words I've never put together, and it feels like one of those words is incorrect. But yeah, I one thing I need to figure out, and if anyone knows the answer, please do tell me, is there any scenario where you can upload MetaHuman assets to GitHub and you're not breaking the EULA? Because I would like to do that in the way of giving more examples of things, but I want to be careful with that in case you are not supposed to do that. Anyways, back to here. Agile Lens, tool journey. Yeah, just a quick little thing about me. And again, like I'm seeing these slides for the first time, but the second brain of Claude is good enough that's like, yeah, this is all pretty accurate. Like in 2016, coming from more of an architecture background, I was doing a lot with Revit, 3ds Max, Rhino, SketchUp. And then, yeah, I was mostly in Unity from 2013 to 2018 or so. Then I started to go more and more into Unreal. If anyone has any questions about Unity at all, Whit Sellers is our go-to instructor for anything related to Unity, and he's in the chat and has put together a really excellent course that you can actually find inside of the Epic Dev Hub. And Whit, if you have that handy, feel free to put it in the chat as well. For anyone who wants to know a little bit of what that workflow is like, starting in Unity and going over to Unreal and that whole workflow. And I like to joke that that only happened because Whit joined us as a Unity expert, and we really wanted to give him more Unity projects, and they just weren't coming. And so eventually it kind of forced Whit to learn Unreal. And so he just had this great journey of that whole process and understands that movement in a way that I have long since forgotten, because I have touched Unity very little in the past 8 years or so, which makes me feel very old. Yeah, by 2023, pretty much everything was all Unreal all the time, just seeing like how much we could do entirely with Unreal. And now with 2026, around February, I started to build more of these agentic workflows that use Claude and Codex and Gemini and various local LLMs. So a lot of the work that can be done with AI now on our computers is free. We have 7 different computers on the AgileLens fleet, and each one has a different configuration and is tailored to work well with different local, Gemma and Olama kinds of setups. And yeah, and things that I have not done a lot of direct coding with, like Three.js and Godot and Blender, are all doing amazing things, often headlessly. That's the cool thing, is like in many cases, you don't even need to open up a UI, and you don't need to even see the interface for things like Godot and Blender. There's so much that can be done without that. I'll give one example. We were working on a project at AgileLens. Thanks, Whit, for putting that in the chat. We were working on a project at AgileLens where there were a bunch of characters. Some of them were MetaHumans, some of them came from Ready Player Me, and they had different blend shapes, and we needed to unify, making sure they all had more than 52 blend shapes. It was actually like 76 because there were some special ones. And I was like, this is going to take forever. I talked to Claude, just discussed like what the workflow should be. And we ended up with basically a Python script that cycled through all the MetaHumans and all the Ready Player Me characters, brought them into Blender, added in all the right blend shapes, brought them back into Unreal, and they looked fantastic. And that is something that I would not have been able to figure out on my own. So that's kind of cool. This is a little bit of taking some slides from a talk I gave for Sense AI a few weeks ago. And I guess I should just give a link to that as well for anyone who is curious. Alex Coulombe, Sense AI. It's also, I think it's also on the training page, actually. alexcoulombepresents.com/training. I don't know why I'm doing this off to the side. Yeah, anyone who wants to see like a deep dive into like really just AI workflow kind of stuff, down at the bottom of this page is this, the how to use AI in MCP, Blender, Unreal, Godot, hands-on lecture sort of thing. And Sense AI has also been a very good partner. I was very excited to work with them on a hackathon pre-SIGGRAPH a couple weeks ago. But let's whiz through a few of these slides. This is a little bit of an introduction to what an MCP is, but the little thing with me knocking the MCP out of the way is really just to show that a lot of times, actually, especially with how much you can get from having a second brain, you can skip the MCP and talk to some of these tools directly. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's intended to be like a thing that communicates well with the APIs of different tools, so you don't have to directly. A good analogy I heard is it's kind of like if the AI is a chef. I want to make sure I get the analogy right. If the AI is a chef and Unreal Engine is a customer at a restaurant, the MCP is like the waiter who's like passing things back and forth. And if you're doing it headlessly, you just basically have the chef talking directly to the customer and saying, what do you want? Let's do this together. And yeah, there's some good little analogies there. And one thing I needed to get over a little bit, like I've wed myself so much to like Unreal Engine and like Unreal Engine expertise that it felt a little bit weird to start to venture outside of that universe a little bit, especially because I went from, using all these other tools, including Unity, and then really kind of went all in on Unreal and tried to make that my one-stop solution for everything. And I still love Unreal and I still use it every day. But the philosophy I've started to think of more now is to love the work you do and not necessarily the specific tools. And especially when I have a brilliant AI that can scour the whole internet and tell me, hey, there's actually a better tool for these things you want to do than Unreal Engine, I'm learning to listen to it and to start to explore all the other things that I can branch out from and use otherwise. Even something like what I'm showing you this in, which I call Spatial Deck, is a tool that grew out of not continuing to default to PowerPoint and Keynote and Google Slides and wanting something a little bit tailored more to the way that I like to give presentations, and especially sharing presentations and having them all live as these GitHub pages links is really handy. Agents change the game. Yep. And this is all like very AI focused stuff. And again, you can look through the deck or watch the talk. I like the fact that, when I build things with Spatial Deck, I can get these nice little interactive diagrams. And yeah, how structure is a really key thing here as well. This is actually a demo of what you might consider like the first meaningful, AI integration into Unreal Engine, which was all the way back in 2018 from a company called Promethean AI. And even then, I think there were some good philosophies being put in place for making sure that if you start to use these tools in Unreal Engine, that you understand what your goal is and you don't let AI drive the direction you go, that you're using AI as someone, or, yeah, you can think of it a bit as a worker, a very eager intern who wants to help and sometimes makes very weird mistakes. But you want it to be something that is servicing your vision and your need, and don't let it take control of that. That's when I think we start to enter into a little bit more of a dark territory. One thing that's really helpful, just there's a best practice, is it's good when possible to make sure your assets are named well. And by the way, you see a lot of people talking in AI about like one-shotting something and like I started from scratch and look what I got. That to me is much less interesting than someone who understands these tools and is already working in AI, or they're already working in Unreal Engine, or they're already a filmmaker and they already have a certain level of craft, and they're using AI to refine or help them do part of their job faster. And so the workflows I've had with AI that have been mostly successful are the ones where we're starting with an existing scene. And it's like, okay, we've optimized the scene as much as we can. We're still a little bit under the frame rate we need to be. I've used all the CVARs and changed all the project settings that I know about. Claude, can you help me analyze the scene? And maybe there's a few other things that I've missed. And then you also treat it as a learning opportunity. Like, you don't just close your eyes and let it do it and say, oh, my frame rate's better now. Like, you try to find like, oh, it found a CVAR that I didn't know about. And like, I'll see the thing that Claude is listing and I'm like, I think that's hallucinating. I don't think that's real. And then lo and behold, suddenly my frame rate goes up and it's like, oh, okay. And then you note that down for yourself. AI should never be a crutch. It should be a mentor and a student, and it should be something where you are learning just as much from it as it's learning from you, as it extracts this kind of second brain sort of thing. And so the more clear your projects are, the more help an AI will be when it comes in to jump in and be part of it. I already mentioned local LLMs can be incredibly helpful. They're free. You can download them pretty easily. One thing that I also needed to kind of get over a mental hurdle of was realizing that in most cases, I didn't need to download things myself anymore. It sounds weird. Like, I was like, oh man, how do I get started with downloading like Ollama and finding like the right LLMs to get locally on my computer? And the truth was that I really just had to ask Claude that and be like, hey, Claude, can you help me start to get some correct local LLMs on my computer? And it explained it, and it started to talk about like the different specs and like, okay, this computer has an A6000, this computer has an RTX 4090, this has this much RAM, this much RAM, this much VRAM, this much VRAM. And it really broke down for me, like, here's what we want on these different computers. We're going to run all these different tests. I'll show you a fun little dashboard thing on the Agile Lens side, where if I go to our fleet eval here, you'll see, oh, maybe not fleet eval, maybe the eval gallery, if that loads up. Nope, it's broken right now. That happens sometimes. Sometimes AI will break things. But what I wanted you guys to see was that all these tests have been run that have been to test out all sorts of different tasks as part of these local LLM workflows to make them as effective as possible, because they're like different personalities. Another analogy I like to use is like, think of an AI like Jason Bourne. It wakes up and it's like, who am I? What do I do? And then it's looking for you to tell it what to do. And if you say, hey, Jason Bourne, do my taxes, Jason Bourne might not be very good at doing your taxes because that's not what he's inherently good at. You say, Jason Bourne, we're trapped in a building and I need to escape. I'm going to hop on your back and let's get out of here. He's probably going to be a little better at that. And so part of the trick with any AI, but also especially local LLMs, is you want to make sure that you're assigning them to the right tasks and that they are on the right configurations where, the right amount of RAM and whatnot is available to do these things well. And so a lot of what's happened on the Agile Lens side is a lot of tests with different prompts and different tasks to determine which LLM should do which tasks. And now some of the local LLMs can even do Unreal Engine tasks pretty well. So that's something else that I might want to even go through like a whole class of just like, let's set all that up and show you what it works, how it works. Just how routing is happening. You can see the models have changed a little bit since this slide was constructed. But Sonnet, I'd say I use it for about 80% of the work we do. Opus and Fable are really kind of reserved for more novel, complex work. And I try to let Claude delegate for these things as well. I let it say like, hey, you're on Sonnet right now, but if you get to a point where you think you need Opus or Fable or different agent, including our local agents too, all of that can be delegated. And so it can create all these sub agents that don't burn more tokens than you actually need. And I have definitely seen a vast improvement in what our token burn looks like now that there's a little bit more intelligent routing that goes on. And there's other tools you can get like Open Router and Claw Router. The beginning of all this for me was OpenClaw, but now I just find so much more reliability in a mostly Claude-based workflow with some supplementary things coming from Codex and Gemini and some other APIs. Again, that can all be totally its own class. Yeah, and again, AI, things you do here. I want to get more to Unreal. There we go. Unreal spoiled for choice. So let's talk a little bit about the MCP system in Unreal. And that, once again, was a situation, kind of like what I already mentioned, where a lot of people watched the MCP demo at Unreal Fest, which Marshall and June and Whit and I were all in the audience for. And they were like, okay, this feels like it's lying, because a lot of people slowed down the video and they opened up the MCP tool and they typed in all the same commands as what they saw on screen, and they had all the assets downloaded, and they're like, my result doesn't look the same. And that again goes back to this kind of fundamental misunderstanding of how an AI learns and builds up a database of tools and techniques. And it's not going to be able to do the same things that you see on a stage like that the first time, because what everyone saw on stage for the MCP demo was probably the 200th time that demo had been run. And there's a huge database under the hood there, whether it's using Claude, I think it was using Claude, but Claude or Codex or whatever. There's this whole database that helps the AI navigate this labyrinth of all the different gotchas with Unreal and helps it produce those particular results. And so, eventually it'd be great if Unreal Engine and other tools just kind of release that entire second brain to give you like all of that together. Something like that might be coming. But in the meantime, if you want to use AI with something like Unreal, you have to build up some of this yourself. And again, maybe that's something that we start to offer, is like some way of giving you a second brain that is focused on all the gotchas for Unreal. Yeah, and actually, Whit, real quick before you go, I'd love for you to just say a quick hi, and also because you'll be teaching, to just talk about some of the topics that you're excited about, and also just give a little quick plug for your exciting new company, which was a huge hit over at SIGGRAPH.
Oh,
Take it
thank
away, Whit.
you. Yeah, so hi, I'm with Sellers. A lot of my current research past Unity side has still been on markerless motion capture and motion capture in general. Now still mostly all inside of Unreal Engine, but the project that we were showing at SIGGRAPH is an Unreal Engine plugin that I made with the co-founder and friend of mine, Brandon Powers, friend of the channel.
Yeah.
Um, who it's sort of geared around making the process of working with your motion data, like just clicking buttons as opposed to needing to know how to do all the backend setup, and creating all the different actors, and making it also very easy to work in parallel across 10 people at the same time, instead of a more traditional animation workflow where you like do the first guy and then the second guy and then the third guy. You can now do 10 at once. And so it's really geared on like bringing dancers and choreographers into the previs party with everybody else. But yeah, currently doing a lot more with working on streamlining the process of using tracked props with your performers, as that's been an eternal thorn in the side of many people. And I'm excited to, dive a little bit more into on the AI side of things, like kind of what Alex was saying, like backend system improvement and being able to, and like pipeline optimization stuff, versus sort of the front end output side of things. And then as well, I've been very interested in the markerless mocap stuff with the new Meshcapade features that are now built in to Unreal, and continue to leverage that and make that still easier for people. Because if you've not tried it yet, it's still a kind of convoluted way, the same way you like process a facial capture recording, where it's not just like right click on a movie and then generate motion.
Yeah.
There's many, many settings to set. But yeah, that's kind of where things focus now, performance and motion capture. And so if definitely people are interested in learning more about that and how to, optimize their own experience, we'll be eager to help people figure that out.
Yeah, and Whit's a really excellent instructor. I'm thrilled to have him be another authorized trainer who's going to show you some really cool stuff over the coming weeks and months.
Yeah.
Thanks, Whit.
Thank
Cool.
you.
And then no pressure, but yeah, any of the other folks that will likely be teaching here, Marshall, Saurabh, June, if any of you want to say a quick hi and say anything about the kinds of stuff that you like to teach and that sort of thing, by all means, go ahead.
Okay, I guess I'll go.
Just a
So,
quick hi. Oh,
oh,
yeah,
never mind.
Marshall, you go first.
All right, I'm Marshall. I guess the more the more technical things I like to mess around with, Apple Vision Pro, C++ for Unreal, GD script, and just like back end systems and stuff like that. Just to system design, kind of the things I like the most.
Yeah.
June.
And Marshall's probably the most adept at us at things like C++ and really getting into the weeds of some of the more complex things there.
Yeah, hi, I'm June. I'm still primarily focused in the blueprint part of it, but the main focus for me is XR, AR, VR, and recently more into co-location and tracking side of it. And in general, just just play with Unreal, and also right now learning a lot more about using like various ways to simplify the process and make projects more organized in general. So a lot of the simple but like very basic things actually, like how to use Blueprint interface properly, use Blueprint function library properly, the relationship between parent, child, actor, components, those kind of things are really interesting for me right now.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to do a quick flyby here of some of the courses June and I have made together for Epic Games. We've done Blueprint courses, we've done VR courses, we've done AR courses, we've done digital twins, we did intro to AR. What else, June? Oh, Variant Manager, which is a really cool way to do things like cycle design options.
Pixel
Oh,
streaming.
I think
yeah,
go ahead. Say again.
Oh, am I muted?
You sounded muted for a second. Go ahead again.
Oh, yeah, like OSC, pixel streaming, Clavier template, deep dive, MetaHuman,
Yeah, MetaHumans
material. Too. Yeah.
Yeah. June and also Dante and our team spent a ton of time learning how to optimize MetaHumans right before optimized MetaHumans became like an offering from Epic Games. So, you know, they figured out a lot of that process on their own. So we love diving into all the different ways you can use MetaHumans and how you move them, how you animate them, how you customize them. There's a lot of good expertise on the team here. Cool. All right, let's continue here. I'll go back to sharing my screen. And by the way, like I'm very happy for us to actually start to give like some little tutorials. There's a few things I kind of prepared or can talk about at any time, but I'll mention that like in 5.8, I started to play more with MetaHuman crowds and doing a mesh to MetaHuman kind of thing using any kind of model. I started to play a little bit with, I mean, not play with, but understand the new Lumen system, which is something that basically, if you turn down your quality settings, where before Lumen would just turn off, now it's able to use this probe system that makes it much cheaper. These could all be like little mini tutorials. I think June also has a little mini thing she can teach about another new 5.8 feature that we quite like. So I can keep kind of talking through some of these things in the presentation here. But if at any point someone's like, hey, can we just open up Unreal Engine and like do a thing? Then just say so in the chat and I will stop going through slides. Most of the courses we teach are very, very little slides. And it really is like, let's just make it through this thing in Unreal Engine. But because this is a little bit more of an informational session, I'm doing a little more slide deck talking than would be typical. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and Sultan learned, I can't say learned blueprints from me, but took a blueprint class with me. So he can attest to the way the classes typically go. Cool. All right. Well, let's whiz through a few more slides, and then anyone who's like, hey, here's the thing I'd really like to learn, just chime in the chat, and we will try to make that happen before the end of the remaining hour and 10 minutes we have here. And by the way, typically with any class we would teach, we usually aim for an hour 30, an hour 45 for the actual main content. And then we try to reserve, 15, 20 minutes at the end for any questions and just kind of going over anything that maybe happened a little too fast. Also, anytime you take a class with us, you will get a recording so that you'll always have access there, as well as any complimentary course materials. Cool. This is just talking about going headlessly. Again, just kind of tips and tricks. So, okay, yeah, going back to the Unreal Engine MCP thing. Here's the thing also. It's nice that Unreal Engine has an official MCP plugin. Based on my own personal experience, it's not the best one right now. There are some open source ones. There's some free ones that work a little bit better. And the one I'm probably using the most right now is paid. It's called NeoStack, or it's called the Agent Integration Kit. But there's quite a few out there, and I encourage you to play with them all. And there's even this nice website called ue-mcp.com/compare. I'll put this in the chat. And this is actually a place where they compare and contrast a lot of the MCP tools out there. I don't know if that link worked properly. Yeah, I think it is. And so, don't just go with the Epic one because it's official, though it will probably get a lot of updates as time goes by. If you want to do AI and MCP, play with some of the other ones out there. And the funny thing is, you can actually do this. I tried this. You can enable like 8 of them at the same time, and then just literally be like, okay, Claude, try doing this task. Like create a sequence where a camera sweeps from the ground and up and then focuses on this MetaHuman face. Like you can give it a very specific thing to do like that, and then have it try to do that same task, apples to apples to apples, with all the different MCP tools, and see which one comes out ahead. And the thing is, it's not always going to be one size fits all. The MCP that does that the best might not be the same one that creates a blueprint the best. Some of the MCPs can't do blueprints at all. Some of them will give you a big stack of ugly blueprints on top of each other, which led to me creating this blueprint auto layout plugin free on the iBrews repo there. And then some of them will actually create quite nice and clean blueprints complete with comment boxes. So, I like doing comment boxes, by the way, as well, because especially if an AI is building a blueprint that I don't quite understand, I want to actually see a little bit more of the thinking of why it laid things out the way it did. Because again, I never want this to be a crutch. And at any given moment, I want to assume that maybe AI becomes way too expensive and unusable, and I just need to go back to a totally non-AI workflow, and I want to feel like it's not a crutch that got taken away and I'm now falling down. It is still a collaborator that I learned a bunch from, and now that collaborator has died. I don't know the right way to phrase that analogy, but like you still have a lot of lessons that you were able to take into your own workflow from that sort of thing. But even just knowing some of the other tools out there, like I had never used Versal or Cloudflare or Three.js or a lot of these things before my Claude workflow started to recommend that these could pair really well with Unreal Engine. And so I'm grateful for that. Laura also has been great. We started to, what's this about though? This was about, Laura's great. That came out with 5.8. Definitely try it out if you haven't already. How embarrassing at Unreal Fest for Perforce to be like a giant sponsor there. And then Unreal Engine's casually like, oh, by the way, we open sourced a new thing that allows you to not pay for Perforce anymore. Is pretty wild. But when it comes to version control, source control, I do find AI can be incredibly helpful with this. Yes, you can point it at lore, but like I've always kind of hated Perforce for a number of different reasons. It just doesn't work the way my brain works. And I'm always so nervous about, committing something the wrong way or having some kind of merge conflict, ironically, in a way that GitHub has never intimidated me. But if you are working on a project and literally all you want to use AI for is to help with source control, that's actually a really good use of it. To just be like, okay, Claude, I'm done. Take a look at the changes, and it'll be like, okay, I see you did this and this and this. Does this look like a good change log? I'm happy to commit it, push it. Oh, there's a merge conflict. Do you want me to resolve that? Yes, don't smash anyone's work. And for the most part, that actually goes pretty well. So again, kind of thinking about like, when is AI useful? Anything that stresses you out, anything where you're like, I'm so afraid to push if I do something wrong. Also, GitHub has this weird thing where like, if there's a merge conflict, sometimes like a large Unreal Engine asset, like a light bake, will just suddenly become 1 kilobyte. And that can be really annoying to track down. And it's like, oh, that happened 15 commits ago. And, like our second brain knows that that's the thing that can happen with GitHub. And so it's looking for those things in a way that those of us who just want to be working in Unreal Engine and pushing things, we're not going to be paying close enough attention to something like that. There we go. There's a little preview of my MetaHuman rendered in Godot, put inside Apple Vision Pro. And I just want you to look at how nice that shadow is of the hand there, the hand on the shirt. Clean shadows in a standalone VR experience. Pretty fun and nice grooms. And he's a very expressive, animative character. Animative, that's not the right word. But yeah, it's we're getting to this point now where we have these very clean workflows. And some interesting tension, I think, as we figure out what kind of classes to teach over the coming weeks is like, when do we just give you a tool and say like, hey, this tool will convert your entire Unreal Engine scene to these other tools? Here's a class just about using that tool. And when are we teaching you more of the, the assembly language, like the code behind the code, and helping you like really break down like, okay, if you're going to bring a MetaHuman to, Apple Vision Pro and Reality Kit, it should really be a USD. If you're bringing it into Godot, it's going to work better as a GLB file, and Material X is going to be this really important intermediary. And so there's kind of like the theory and the guts of how all this stuff works, and maybe there's an appetite for that, but I don't know. I imagine in many cases, if we have a plugin that's just going to do these things really well, it's going to be maybe more useful to the common person to just say, hey, here's a plugin, here's how it works, let's walk through all the ways this might streamline some of your production pipelines. But yeah, feel free to let me know in the chat. What do you think? One thing that I don't know these images that Claude is using. I know the images. I'm surprised here as I move through seeing them. But you can see like with some of the earlier tests with getting the MetaHuman into Unreal Engine, into Vision Pro, there was some stuff with like the grooms going a little bit wonky. For those who don't know, MetaHumans often have this like helmet thing that helps so that you aren't seeing the scalp even when the hair should still look very full. And you can see there's some like weird stuff going on with that. The eyelashes are having some trouble, but this was also like an animation test with just like the jaw open curve or blend shape, and that was actually working pretty well early on. It's really important to be able to know how to do a good loop so that it can iterate and kind of know what's wrong and doesn't always have to check in with you and be like, I made a change. Does it look good? That's not necessarily the best use of your time. So some of the other tools that we've built that, again, I'll be very happy to share as part of these classes are things like a 3D point cloud checker. And in fact, I might have some of these tools already installed, and I can probably show you some of them in the time we have. But it will basically take any 3D assets in your scene, do a quick like point cloud, almost like a Gaussian splat sort of thing, and it will just make it more analyzable by AI, and it will be more aware of something like, oh, the groom is detached from the head. Oh, this doesn't align. Oh, this image looks totally different from this image when it started in Unreal and it went over to this other platform. So yeah, those are all tools that I want to share with the public. Sorry, my camera is blocking my Epic Games launcher. I'm just going to launch 5.8 and we'll see what comes up. This is also the MetaHuman Godot project, just running regularly on a Mac Mini. No, this is the MacBook Pro M1 Silicon, and runs really well, really smoothly, and has all sorts of fun emotive things. And I had Blender. I had Godot set up all these different little sliders to test out different things, and it works well. And you can download that as a release on the MetaHuman Godot repo. And yeah, that came from, this was actually before the Open Rig Logic setup came out from Epic. And it was just kind of iterating with Claude about like, how do we get these assets out of Unreal and reconstruct them to look as good as possible in another platform like Godot. And this is, iteration 30 of something like that. Like first, the eyes all had skin or little mouths in them, like very Sandman. And so it takes some time to not only correct it as a one-off, but to build what AI likes to call something like a runbook that are these hardened, reusable methods that are going to make this reliably happen again and again. So the next time I ask to export a MetaHuman from Unreal Engine, it doesn't make all those same mistakes again. It knows exactly how to streamline that process. And then beyond that, so yeah, there's kind of 3 stages, right? There's the like correcting as a one-off and like, okay, I just need this one time, it looks fine. Then there's the runbook of like, I want to do this again and again with AI. And then the third and best step is now this is codified enough that it can just be a script and it doesn't require AI at all. All the rules are there, and everything is just going to be able to happen with no need for an AI analysis of what's going on. So a lot of these plugins, especially the ones that get things out of Unreal, that I'm trying to build are with that goal, that you don't need AI at all. And we could do an entire class about using these plugins. That's just about how the built version functions. The Blueprint Auto Layout plugin, that's very much how that happened. It started with like, hey, we've got a lot of very messy blueprints. How do we clean them up? And there was a lot of AI helping to clean up those blueprints. And then eventually it was like, okay, we've just got a good set of rules for what to do with nodes in a blueprint graph. And now it's just a simple plugin that has a lot of scripts that will make the blueprint based on what it knows from a lot of practice. And it'll even create comment boxes deterministically based on the kinds of nodes there. And they might not be the best comment boxes. AI could make better ones, but it's a really good starting point for anyone who is liking to do that. And by the way, June, Marshall, anyone who has a free hand, as I'm mentioning some of these repos, so I don't have to keep pulling up my own GitHub, feel free to see if you can find them and just drop them into the chat. That one is called Blueprint Auto Layout, and that should be on the iBrews repo if anyone has a second to find that. MCP server landscape. Yeah, so Blender has some really robust MCP tools. For anyone who knows Chase Cooper from Epic Games, he actually just had a really cool post where he was like, hey, people told me that using MCP with Blender would feel like using a touchscreen for the first time. And he basically built New York City. And what I liked about Chase's post, and maybe I will just find this one real quick, is that it isn't saying, hey, check out what I one-shotted. It's, hey, I'm using all of my craft and technique from all these years of using Unreal Engine. Thank you, June, for the Blueprint Auto Layout thing. And here's Chase's post. I'll just pull it over here too, where he wasn't saying, I one-shotted this. He's saying that, I built New York City in Blender with the MCP tools, but it wasn't a one-shot. He had to go time and time and time and iterate and iterate and iterate. And he's using his eye. He's using techniques and things that he knows from working in Unreal Engine and other 3D modeling software. And he ends up with something that's really robust. And to me, that's way more impressive and way more useful of a case study than, hey, everyone, check out what I was able to one-shot. So yeah, Blender's really powerful, especially in combination with the way it can go in and out of Unreal Engine. Yeah, some of the places where we've gotten AI to really help out with Blender, geometry nodes, materials, any kind of batch operation, like, adding in blend shapes, rigging. I'm really surprised how I've had instances where I gave Blender a really weird looking character and it was able to create a rig, which was then able to come into Unreal and work there. Because I'm not a good rigger. I've tried. I've gone through a lot of great rigging tutorials from Epic Games, and I can kind of do it. I don't really enjoy it. So again, this is an opportunity, at least for me, where I feel like it's really great to be able to offload some of these things. And it's like, I want to focus more on the animation side. So give me the rigged thing. Now I get to animate it. And again, for those who don't know, for anyone who's still in this chat, who's maybe a little bit of a newbie for Unreal Engine gives you so many great example projects. And so if I go to the Epic Games launcher here, you will see in the samples tab a lot of really excellent things that are set up to basically, in some cases, be full projects that are showcasing a particular feature, but then you have all the code there, all the blueprints, all the assets, and you can do what you want with them. I'll mention briefly, the game animation sample is like really smooth animation blending that's using some relatively recent tools that I'm blanking on the names of some of them, but yeah, it's much more robust than what you get out of the box with like the third person template, with the way that you blend between different animations to make all the movement feel much more natural. The mutable sample is like a character customizer plugin. The Electric Dreams was the reveal of PCG and the ability to have like this very robust landscape that obeys rules for like how assets land on the ground and all the different ways they can look random without being I want to say broken. And that's also kind of like almost like a proto AI kind of workflow, because you still want to be the artist who's in control of the environment. And so as long as you're setting the rules for the way that that environment behaves, and like I always like to have a log, 6 feet off the ground, and all of that can be created in a PCG graph. And yeah, I think talking about PCG is actually maybe a really good class on its own, especially when we relate it to things that can be done with AI. A lot of the MCP demo at Unreal Fest was also relying heavily on AI and PCG. the MCP demo was relying on PCG and AI together. Yes. The Hillside samples are a really good ArcViz project. This, of course, was the introduction of MetaHumans. The content examples get updated with every version of Unreal, and it's just such a wonderful museum showcase of like, here's a random skeleton thing, here's a random light thing, here's a Niagara particle thing. And so really, really good project to explore. If you're new to Unreal, I'd open it up, hit play, walk around, see what the things are. And then anytime you want to inspect them more, get out of play mode, open up the blueprints, open up the assets, and start to wrap your head around how those things work. The city sample continues to be this incredibly robust showcase of traffic patterns and large scale nanite and buildings and a whole traffic simulation thing and crowds. And in fact, a lot of people were frustrated that there was really good MetaHuman crowd simulation in this, but it wasn't very extractable. And now, of course, with 5.8, we actually have just a MetaHuman Crowds plugin, and it's much more usable. And it's got a good little showcase level, but then there's a lot of ways you can customize it and make it work well. And it's already very performant out of the box. You can have 1,000 MetaHumans walking around and have it run reasonably well, even on lower tier hardware. Lynn, sorry, I want to make sure I'm responding to the right thing. Lynn, are you saying you'd be interested in learning more about MetaHuman Crowds, or was it something else?
I think it was PCGs, Alex.
Oh, PCGs. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, PCGs and AI. Yeah, and I've got a good class that touches on some of the things in the Electric Dreams environment, and then also has a very clean, simple, empty environment. So thank you for that note. I will make a point to ensure that sometime in the next few weeks we do a proper PCG class. Just a couple more I'll point out. Good car configurator, which also uses the variant manager, and there's a configurator template anytime you open Unreal. The Meerkat demo is a really good short film made by the incredible folks at Weta, and you see how the rigs are set up, you see how the grooms are set up, and you have the entire short film complete with all these sequences and the ways the cameras are done there. So those are all great. And then there's some game samples. Project Titan was tons and tons of artists all working together. Crop Out Sample Project is kind of an RTS, almost like there's like a God simulation kind of thing of gathering crops and watching the whole logic of that work. Lyra Starter Game, of course, came very early with Unreal Engine and is like a multiplayer template. And Valley of the Ancient was the very first like reveal of Unreal Engine 5, which I thought was handled really well. Not to go off on a rant about the announcement of Unreal Engine 6, I'll just focus on Unreal Engine 5. And I really liked how when Unreal Engine 5 was announced, it was like, here's this beautiful environment. Here's the tech that's powering it. Here's a little bit about Nanite and Lumen and world partition and virtual shadow maps. And I thought they just set the stage very, very well for why UE5 was going to be very, very exciting. And that was the start of that. And they played to the strengths. They didn't put a lot of foliage and things like that in there because early on Nanite was only supported by static meshes and not foliage and not skeletal meshes. Now in the MetaHuman crowd sample, those are all nanite. All the skeletal meshes are nanite, and that's a big part of the optimization that comes from that crowd simulation. Anyway, just a quick flyby of some of the many samples you get access to in Unreal Engine. Also, then if you create a new project in Unreal Engine, these aren't samples so much as templates. Thanks, Melinda. Thanks for stopping by. And again, I hope everyone checks out Melinda's great class on faces coming up in a few weeks. So this isn't samples so much as it is templates, but you've got all these different kind of categories and then the starter projects that give you access to a lot of really useful things within that category. For those who haven't tried the relatively new Intro to Unreal project, I think this came out with 5.7. It's really good, even if you're a seasoned Unreal veteran. I quite like the way that it walks you through these, I think, 16 different introductory concepts to Unreal, and you're literally like walking through, you're in play mode. It asks you to pop out, like fix a puzzle, move a box here. And I think it's very, very clear. So whoever designed that on the Epic Games team, I really like showing that as a starter to Unreal Engine now. A couple more I'll point out. The product configurator uses the variant manager, so you have a lot of easy ways to swap in and out, materials, lights, meshes, etc. And we use this a lot in architecture as well. In fact, I think in architecture you have the design configurator, which is an equivalent version of that, but using architecture instead of a guitar. The collab viewer also shows up in a couple places. This gives you out of the box multiplayer, a desktop mode, a VR mode, lots of different components that allow for things like annotation, drawing on things, turning everything into an X-ray material type. And it relies very heavily on Datasmith as you import project or models from other DCC tools and that sort of thing. Anything else important here? Handheld AR. So, that's how we start off. And the course that June is designed actually takes the different versions of the AR template. So you've got a car, you've got a building, and then you've also got a walking person. And all three of those are now combined into one project, as well as doing some other things like marker-based tracking, if anyone wants to do that intro to AR course at some point. Typically, if you're curious, I most often with Unreal, if I'm starting something and just testing something out, trying a new plugin, importing something from Fab, I'll often use the third-person template. And if I don't need it to be super beautiful, I'll go with like the mobile and scalable settings, especially if I plan on outputting it to a variety of platforms. And that's usually a pretty good place to start, just to have an easy way to walk around and jump and explore things. And then, of course, you got some different variants here, which add more specific controls. I quite like I think it's the platforming one, because it gives you like a little jump, like a double jump boost sort of effect as well. So there's like a little bit extra zhuzh going on there. And then, of course, you have a vehicle template if you want to drive around. Sometimes with large scale environments, I will start with a vehicle template if I just want a good way to explore them at scale. Yeah, pretty good stuff. Okay. I'll go back to some slides. Actually, you know what? Let's take a little pause here, because I know June has a nice little bite-sized tutorial that she has ready. June, is that ready to go if I hand the screen over to you for a minute?
Not really like a tutorial.
Yeah, or whatever,
like
a showcase. Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I've been talking for a little bit, so let me hand the floor over to June for a moment, just because I had asked some of my instructors here if they wanted to show a quick little thing during this intro class. I'd love for them to do that.
Well, I'll start with sharing my screen.
Right.
Sorry, one moment. Let's see. Hey, wait. Sorry, I'm looking for
No worries.
a button here. Okay.
Look, the intro project.
Yeah. Yes, the
Perfect.
intro project. So I think we started to have the intro project from 5.7 or 5.8.
Yeah, I think 5.7.
5.7, yeah. So well, I didn't have it when I first started Unreal, and but I found this is really an amazing starting point. And I remember when I first started Unreal, I have a lot of trouble with collision, and collision continues to be a trouble for me, like after so many years being inside Unreal. But like this is just like such a simple and straightforward way to we can just like hit play and we start in this. Oops. We can start, go back to default starting point. But like it just like you can go through the lines on the floor and will show you so many basic things about Unreal. I think this will probably be like my favorite now would be my favorite ways of starting my Unreal project if I was a newly if it was a new people joining Unreal. And I think the other thing that so it's well my short intro or like a tip session is more built on top of the concept of I wish I learned this sooner. The Unreal the Unreal talk that Alex gave for 2 years in Unreal Fest. And so I just want to mention a couple of things that I wish I learned sooner when I first started to use Unreal. One is yeah, try more templates. A lot of the templates is a really great showcase for more than the things that you think you want to learn. Like third-person template is not just about third-person template, and also like in the architectural template part, there's one that I really like to use. It's called Clavier template, and it's not just for architecture viewing. It also teaches me. It also taught me all the basics about multiplayer, and and there's a lot of nuances about how to use a component, or like for example inside this our Clavier template, there's this kind of like main window, main menu, game menu of all like the different kinds of features we can do, and like how to build like a clean system of widgets, or like just like a pack of a feature pack that's like have a very clean organized structure, and we can I can easily build on top of these feature components and add in my own custom feature, but reuse all the same UI system. Like that's all the things that you can learn from Clavier template. And also, Alex told me I should prepare something that's like 5 minutes. So I just want to show you something that's I think it's something I wish I learned sooner, is that everything in Unreal happens in order, and you have to be careful about those like order of things. So for example, at begin play, I think when I first started Unreal, I put a lot of logic at begin play. So I make sure like things happen, things spawns, or like things I get a reference to a specific things at begin play. But sometimes I would face troubles that at the beginning play I want to like grab like something in the game, and the reference is not valid. For example, say like right now at the beginning play I want to grab my pawn and I want to do something about it. And we know that at the beginning so like different at the gameplay fires at different timings. So for example, if we have a level with a bunch of actors, the level at the gameplay fires, and then the uh after like all the actors inside that level is being placed. So but like the level begin play, the pawn begin play, and the actor begin play, it happens in order. Uh and like the order is different if you're doing like a single player. For example, you have like a game mode with the default pawn versus a game mode that's for multiplayer. So it doesn't have a default pawn, the default pawn, and you have to spawn your pawn from the player controller. Then the order of sequence happens in a different way. So I just want to show you one thing that troubles me a lot before is, for example, here we're in this single player level. So I have my default pawn class here. And if I go to, say I go to the level blueprint and say at begin play, I want to grab my pawn and I want to do something about it. So if in a single player experience, if I do that, like say I'm going to do something like after, if it is valid, I'm just going to hit play. I can see that here it will print out the blue print string to say I have pawn. So that's all good. And so like that's kind of like the thing I had, like a bad habit that I had that I carried over to my multiplayer game. And I also want to do something, and I remember that was like I want to grab my pawn and I want to do like a fade to black, fade to white, that kind of things at begin play of like each level. At level begin play, I want to like fade to black, for example. And so when I enter my multiplayer game, I also had the same like reference inside my level blueprint. At begin play, I grab my pawn, I want to do something about it. But here, if I hit play, you will see that now I have the pink print string that's saying I doesn't have a pawn. And the reason is because at begin play, the controller hasn't spawned the pawn yet. Like apparently I do have a pawn. Like I can move around, I can do all the pawn action inside here. Like I can do all the things here. I definitely have a pawn. And so one thing that's I think the best way is that you know the order of sequence and you get your pawn at after you know that the pawn is being spawned. So for example, maybe there's like a call event dispatch somewhere when the pawn is being spawned, and you check if that thing is called, or you assign bind events to that event dispatcher, or an easy hacky way, you can just do a delay and then grab it again, and then only fire the thing you want to fire after it's valid. If we do that, we'll see like the first one, it tried to find a pawn, it doesn't find it. And then the second time it found a pawn, and that's all good. So yeah, that's my 5 minutes. I wish I learned it sooner. And back to Alex.
Nice. Thank you, June. Yes, and for those who don't know, we also, as a team, had put together these 2 talks that we did at Unreal Fest Prague and Stockholm called "I Wish I Learned This Sooner," and those are available on the Unreal Engine YouTube channel. Thanks, Marianne. Thanks for dropping by, and we'll see you at another class. We've got another little mini tutorial here, or showcase from Saurabh, and we will let Saurabh show his screen and something cool he's been working on that could also become a little class in the future.
Thank you, Alex. I'm audible.
Yep, sound great.
Yeah. So hello, guys. So my name is Saurabh Saxena, and I'm from Agile, and so I'm here to showcase a demo or a feature which we developed for our one of our client project. It's a BPI project, and this is running under the Unreal Engine 5.7, and so this product is for visualization of auditoriums, and that helps the architects and clients to know the how it will looks like from the visitor sides or the viewer side. So this we developed using Unreal Engine 5.7, and so we use the combination of Blueprint and C++. And the main pain point is that this is in the Unreal, right? So team comes with an idea. Okay, can we make it to the web? And it should not be a heavy one. It should be light one, so that other viewers or team leaders can view on their browsers. So we developed a feature inside that using C++, Three.js, and web technologies, and we also said that we use Unreal Engine GLTF exporter plugin, and we create a feature by which you can export the complete Unreal level at runtime into web. You just need to click on this, and it will give you a generated launcher with a Three.js compatible a viewer. So it looks like this. I'll show you how it will look like. So this is the generated. This is running on a particular on URL, and you can share with your friends or team once the URL, so that they can view the auditorium. So to develop this, what we did, I'll show you a small one. So we created a C++ based plugin, and using GLTF exporter of Unreal. And other than that, so we created a small, you can say, helper function for the designers, for the developers, so that they can integrate this feature in their project. And if they integrate, and by which they can just export any level into the web, and they can share that web package to their clients or to their people, so that they can view the Unreal on the web. So that's a small showcase from my side, and thank you guys for watching and listening. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Sorb. All right. And by the way, just because this is kind of a more loose session than we would normally have, if there is anyone else in the chat as well who is like, oh, I've got a cool little quick tip I'd like to show, feel free to just say that you'd like to show something. Because we're really the point of this entire session is to discuss at a very high level, like, here's some of the things that we think are exciting right now. We're kind of feeling out what will be the best courses to offer, and just to know where there's certain kinds of expertise that people might want to transfer to each other. While anyone is thinking about that, I'll go through a few more slides over here. And I promise before the end of the hour, I will also give a little tutorial now that I've got Unreal Engine open, almost open, nearly open. And I need to find the right project I want to open. One thing I wanted to mention is that when making the jump into starting to use some of these other engines like Godot, it is really helpful to already have all this knowledge of something like Unreal. Even let's imagine for a situation that you decided you weren't going to use Unreal at all anymore, and you were thinking, maybe I'm just going to do everything in Godot. Depending on your use case, I think that is possible. And it might feel a bit like, oh, I'm starting from scratch now. Like, forget about the AI side. It might feel like, okay, I'm starting from scratch. But for anyone who's made a transfer from one 3D modeling software to another, or like me, went from Unity to Unreal, so much of the tools and concepts and techniques and the understanding of how a real-time engine works, that all transfers with you. And so, Claude put together this nice little slide that I think is reflecting some of my concerns when we first started to use Godot, that it was going to be very alien, when in fact, like, if you already know some things about Unreal, a lot of that knowledge transfers very, very well over to Godot. And then there's some cool things they have in common. For example, both Godot and Unreal Engine, if you want to build natively for Apple Vision Pro with either of them, they both use what's called the Metal Compositor, which is this other way that things are able to be on Apple Vision Pro. And there's so many little lessons of when I was getting Godot to run well on Apple Vision Pro that actually ended up translating directly into making Unreal Engine run better on Apple Vision Pro 2, and vice versa. So there's a lot of benefit in having a number of tools you work with, and when you solve something with one of those tools, it works somewhere else. On the AI side, I find that oftentimes I will explain things as though I'm doing it in Unreal, even if it's Three.js or WebGPU. I'll talk about post-process volumes and sequencer animations. And of course, the AI is smart enough to translate that and be like, okay, well, we don't have post-process volumes in Three.js, but we do have this and this and this, which are going to create similar kinds of color, compositing effects and that kind of thing. So something worth knowing. There's a few slides here about, another good tool I'm excited to start offering people. One of the best things about developing for Apple Vision Pro and iOS so far, including with Unreal, has been access to the simulator. So we have a custom fork of Unreal Engine that uses the simulator very well. The one out of the box that you get with 5.7 or 5.8 does not, including even the fork from Polyarc, the folks who made Moss and Glass Breakers. They have a fork of Unreal Engine, and that one, unfortunately, does not work well with the simulator. The simulator is a superpower when you have an AI workflow, because it allows the AI to check how things are behaving in a full spatial environment with all the right controls there, in something like the VisionOS simulator. Here you have the simulator in the middle of the wall there, and not the wall, but like in a window in a floating panel. And then you have the room. And if you need to test like how things respond to a mixed reality environment or respond to the room, that simulator is fantastic. And so you can create this really lovely loop where Unreal Engine or Reality Kit or whatever can do a lot of testing. And without the simulator, there's no way I could have been like, hey, Claude, please build me a VisionOS app that showcases all the best new and exciting features of VisionOS 27. That wouldn't have worked if it couldn't use the simulator to check its work and make sure things are compiling and behaving interactively correctly. Very long-winded way of saying that I wanted to have something like that for other XR devices as well. And so taking some inspiration from NVIDIA's Cloud XR simulator and the Meta XR simulator and the Pico XR simulator, I've now got this pretty robust thing. I guess right now I'm just calling it XR Sim, but it is intended to be like this standalone environment on Windows and Mac that lets you install APKs and run everything right there as though it were actually on a headset. And you can even specify, Pico Swan, Apple Vision Pro, or not Apple Vision Pro because that's not an APK, but you can specify Pico, MetaQuest 2, MetaQuest 3, and it will even throttle your Windows or Mac machine in such a way so that it better emulates the actual horsepower of those devices. So that's something else I'm excited to start incorporating into any classes we do with XR and AI. Again, it's useful for both. It's useful for you if you don't have a device handy and you want to test installing directly with your current build environment. And it is super helpful if you want an AI to be able to loop and iterate and make sure everything is working as expected. Cool. MetaHumans and Reality Kit. Cool. Yeah, we've already talked a bit about that. One thing I recommend, whether you're doing this with AI or not, is if you're trying out a new workflow, try to give yourselves a lot of sliders and a lot of opportunities to cycle through things. I have another slide about it somewhere else, but I'll demonstrate with my hands. So I was trying to improve the ability to do hand tracking in Apple Vision Pro with Unreal Engine. And it does pretty well out of the box with just like if you're just using your real hands and you want the occlusion of that. Marshall and I have done a number of Apple Vision Pro projects that use that well. But I wanted to do proper hand tracking with the meshes that come with the VR template. Now, when June and I were working on a VR course, June did a really good job putting together hand tracking that works with PC VR and standalone VR. And when I brought that over to Apple Vision Pro, it was totally broken. And it was tough to figure out exactly like what the rotations and everything needed to be. And so at a certain point, as I was talking to Claude about it, I said, can you just give me a button or even a pinch gesture that's going to cycle through different offsets and rotations, like, okay, and this will do everything 90 degrees clockwise, and this will do it over the x-axis, over this will do it on the y-axis. And I guess this is an animation. It just started playing. And so what happened was, because it was a little bit of a shotgun approach, that actually really helped narrow things down, because it gave me like 9 options, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. And then I was able to say like, okay, G looks the least bad. The wrist is still rotated in a weird way. And then it would do like G1, G2, G3, G4. And it's like, oh, G3 is almost there. And it was like a very quick way to get to a point where then I ended up with very good looking full-on hand tracking. And then it was able to tell me, okay, just so you know, for future reference, if you want hands to work well between Vision Pro and other VR devices or anything with hand tracking, this is the rotation offset that they all need. So it's getting it working for the one-off. And then there's having like a little bit more of a runbook now. So if I'm importing other mesh hands and things like that, they're just going to work better. But yeah, giving yourself sliders and buttons and ways to cycle through different options to help you narrow down, especially if you're problem solving, what's going to work best, that can be really, really, really helpful. Splats, Swift, and the bridge. Nothing really larger here worth talking about, other than the fact that right before Apple Vision Pro released native Splat support, I was using Apple Sharp, which is a tool that can't be used commercially, but it creates splats from single images. And it was very funny to me that when Vision OS 27 came out, they're like, you're not allowed to have a splat over 250K. And it was like, oh, with Sharp and this methodology here and some iterations with Claude, I ended up being able to do 1,000,000K for a splat and still having a decent frame rate. I think here we're at like 45 with reprojection. And so I guess the point here is just that, like, sometimes you're told that something is a certain restriction, like this is what the platform can do. And with enough massaging, you can kind of go around these things. Another example of that would be in Godot, the current Godot fork that's more tailored for Apple Vision Pro. It's really tailored to only have either occluded hands, as in you see your real hands, or mesh hands. And I was able to get like kind of a shim in there. And now in one experience, which is called Cascade Countdown, and maybe Marshall has a link to that for the chat. In Cascade Countdown, you can actually toggle between your real hands and mesh hands, or mesh hands overlapping your real hands in real time. And as far as I know, no one else has done that with Godot and Apple Vision Pro. This is the app that I mentioned that was built overnight. Thank you. For Vision OS 27. And
Hey, Alex,
yeah, it just gave me this whole scene. Am I talking? Is someone else talking?
Sorry. I just had a question about the previous one.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sure. Yeah.
Did you say you created that Gaussian splat out of a 2D image?
Yes. Yeah. So what you see in this previous thing, that's a flat image that Apple's Sharp machine learning model converts in about 12 seconds. And so the app I built here, which I don't think I'm even allowed to distribute because of the restrictions on Sharp, you can grab any image from your photo library, and directly on the Apple Vision Pro there, it will generate a Gaussian splat in at most 20 seconds, and they look really good.
That's super cool. I was also looking at the new feature in 5.8 called Composure.
Yes.
Have you guys played around with that yet?
I will pull up something I saw on LinkedIn like yesterday that is about that. That looks really exciting. Have you played with that at all yet?
No, I'm about to. It looks very exciting,
Yeah,
especially for video stuff. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, I'll find you a really cool video from oh man, what's his name? I commented on his thing and then he responded. So I'll just take a second here to find it because it's the first really good use I've seen of that.
Mm-hmm.
And his name's Dean Yerk, and this could probably be a little class in itself. Yeah, or this might not be Composure. This is the composite depth mesh. But let me give you all a link to this and I'll show it on my screen. Sometimes LinkedIn makes it weirdly complicated just to get the link to a post. Here we go. It's a link to the comment, whatever. Maybe that's fine. But yeah, what this is it's a video. It's a video. Oh, he does say Composure here, though. And so for those of us who remember in Unity, there was a plugin called DepthKit, and DepthKit would allow you to do this kind of thing very easily using anything from like LiDAR or whatever. And yeah, this looks like a very straightforward way to do something similar now. And of course, for anyone who's worked with like MetaHuman Animator and uses like the LiveLink Face app, that will often give you this kind of data directly out of that. So now being able to do something like this with it is actually very exciting. Yeah, I would love to put together a course all about that. So good job, Dean.
Yeah.
And yeah, and while we're at it, is there anything else that anyone is like, hey, has anyone else seen that really cool other new thing? I quite like the mesh terrain tools that have come out. I haven't had a chance to play with them too much yet, but the fact that now instead of when working with terrain, you could only go like vertically, now you can go horizontally, you can carve caves, you can move like Boolean operations around. So this hole now goes over there. That's something in 5.8 that I'm excited to start playing around a lot more with.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. Non-destructive design.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just a quick look at this app, which again, Claude just built overnight. The only thing it had trouble with was the splats, because the splat documentation was not very good about exactly the way it needed to be constructed and put in the scene. But all this stuff with like light spill, where you see the light there on my table, and there's like some reflection stuff and some cloth stuff and all these nice sliders. I didn't tell Claude to do anything other than give me a showcase of new visionOS 27 features. So that was kind of cool. Second brain is the real tool. Yep. Just the more you put into your second brain, the more that you don't have to repeat workflows or boring projects that can be automated. So that's all fun. Again, it's cool. I like that, again, using AI, I was like telling Claude at some point, like, I want to find a good way to explain this. And it just makes this diagram and it lives natively inside Spatial Deck, and anyone else can check this out as well. And it's even got this nice thing where I can click on it and see it bigger. So our own little custom presentation tool, also open source, github.com/ibrews/spatial-deck if anyone wants to try it out themselves. Yep, transferability. Yeah, and I kind of hit on this already, but it's like, for the first project, you're just trying to figure out like, okay, can AI be useful for this? What issues are we running into? You try to provide really clear feedback. And then by project B, it's like, okay, use everything we learned from project A, and it's a little bit faster. And then hopefully by project C, it's I hate to use the term one shot. Hopefully it's a one shot. I guess I'm okay with the term one shot when it's earned and it's like it's after all this iteration and you've now like achieved a one shot. It's the whole Jurassic Park thing, of course, right? Like, you don't want to be the person standing on the shoulders of giants, taking everyone else's achievements and just going one step farther. You want to feel like you've earned as much of this for yourself. And then, yeah, you get to the point where it's like, and now we don't even need AI anymore. Either I've learned all these techniques and I can just do it myself, thanks AI for teaching me, or I've created a plugin that can do all this without any AI at all. Fun stuff. A couple pro tips. This is more AI specific stuff. I'll run through this pretty quick, but like spawn new chips, fresh context. You can literally tell Claude, hey, we're kind of done with this section, or we're kind of close to context. Spawn a new chip to continue from where we left off. Yeah, back and forth. I've said this a few times, like make sure that you're teaching each other. You're learning why the AI made certain decisions. You're telling it things that it's getting wrong. And yeah, don't disable instant stereo. We need instant stereo for this and this reason. Especially on the Unreal Engine side, I feel very comfortable correcting Claude when it makes certain assumptions about things that are best practices or things it should do for various reasons. Second here. Cool. Oh, and Sultan, I think we're getting just a little bit of background noise from you. If you wouldn't mind muting there. No worries. Thank you. And then, yeah, I already said this. This was the thing I mentioned about a dial for the unknowns. And look at this. We've got a little interactive one. So this is what I mentioned with like the hand tracking and all that, where if you're just trying to parse out, like, how do we even start here? We just have some kind of way to cycle through a few different options and then say, this is the least bad. I'll use another little movie analogy. Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, when in doubt, follow your nose. If there's all these different cave tunnels and you're like, I have no idea which one to go down, like you need some kind of little starting indicator for where to start. And so beginning with at least having an easy way to swap between those can be incredibly useful. Oh, sorry, I missed that, Lynn. Lynn said, have you tried images of nature with Splats? Yeah, we tried images of nature. Certainly anything more organic and anything that's outside, you're more likely to end up with like, spillover from the sky. You'll see like blue parts of the splats and all that. But they can look really good. And I've seen some really beautiful splats where you'll actually get a sense of like the translucency of like leaves and that kind of thing. And yeah. And also because Sultan mentioned he's working on it too. Lynn or Sultan, anything else you want to say about splats and nature and all that?
Well, I guess I was just wondering what the affordances are. Like, if I understand correctly, it's not truly 3D. Like, you don't walk into it. It's not modeled, right? Is that correct?
It's not a mesh. Yeah, it's kind of like point cloud data. Sultan, how would you explain it? I'm curious to let you chime in here.
Yeah, and I apologize if there's any background audio, but
oh, no worries.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it is a point cloud system. I'm still experimenting actually with capture. I'm using my Insta360 drone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. But yeah, I'm using my Insta360 drone to actually capture my backyard just to experiment with. But what I'm having a lot of trouble with is I have this beautiful tree in my backyard, but it keeps moving with the wind. So the stats aren't necessarily accurate, but I'm actually focusing on capture. But Gaussian splats have turned out to be honestly like great for nature and like basically otherwise there's just so many meshes, right? Like if you actually try to 3D scan something. So I'm experimenting and seeing how it could work within my workflow. So I'm still very much in the experimental capture phase, but it could also be something you walk into. I don't see why you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Are
also
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Lynn. No, go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, I was just wondering if you're working on strategies. This is what I hope to do anyways, of kind of using different types of structures, for example, the splats at more of a distance and working with meshes closer, like trying to integrate all the different options so that you can create extreme depth. And yeah, that's a huge interest of mine.
I don't know if you guys have tried Hyperscape in the MetaQuest app, but
oh yeah, it's amazing. But you
that's
can't
all Gaussian
you can't get it
splats.
out.
Yes, you can. Yeah, that's my
Hyperscape
problem with
technology
it.
is really particularly impressive because they're actually streaming more and more detailed splat data as you get closer to it. So it's kind of like an LED system. But right now that only exists inside the Hyperscape app. It's not anywhere else which is a little bit limiting with it. One other thing I thought worth mentioning about Splats for anyone who hasn't played with them too much is they're really excellent when it comes to things like reflection and light and yeah, translucency, like very complex material properties. And of course, as Lynn said, it's not actually mesh data, but when you're the right distance away, it can read as like the same quality as a ray traced Unreal Engine scene, which is very, very cool. And we're doing experiments all the time with like, can we get this to run well in VR? Can we get it to run better than the Unreal Engine equivalent of that scene? And there's a lot of different methods out there. Because here's the thing too, you can do it in the real world, but splats are generated just from images. And so you can also just render out 1,000 images from inside Unreal Engine and make a synthetic splat from that too. So especially when we think about our more complex, luxury real estate workflows that require full ray tracing, if we could do a version of that doesn't require a full RTX 5090 and it could just exist as a splat on a standalone headset, that would be fantastic. Cool. All right, a few more things, and then maybe I'll do like one little tutorial before we get to the top of the hour. Knowing when to stop using AI, I think is really, really useful. There's a little project here, and June actually put together a really lovely video that's across the Agile and social media about how this ultimately worked. But we needed to create a bunch of duplicates of trees for an Agile Lens project, and they needed to become mega plants so they could be properly optimized. And there was some pretty rough scan data of the trees. And I was like, I bet AI will be able to help with this really well. And so I was throwing a lot of tokens at Claude to basically be like, please take these scans of tree data and convert it all into mega plants. And it was something that was hitting wall after wall after wall. And meanwhile, June and a few other members of the Agile Lens team had, worked out a method of doing it by hand, which wasn't that laborious and was much cleaner and looked better. And so there's also, I think with many other things as well, there's a sunk cost fallacy where it's like, once you've spent a certain number of tokens trying to get something to work with AI, you're tempted to keep throwing more tokens at it. I also did this with, I have another repo called Vitruvian Godot, I think, because there's a kind of a MetaHuman alternative out there, like a fully open source digital human system called Vitruvian. And I really wanted to get it to look as good as MetaHumans. And I burned so many tokens, like being like, here's the MetaHuman, here's the Vitruvian asset, let's try to get them more on par with each other. And it just couldn't get there. And so you need to know when to be like, okay, this isn't a great path to go down. And it's not just about burning tokens, it's about burning your own time and realizing that you've hit enough brick walls that it's not worthy of additional resources. And so yes, as Claude politely puts it here, know when to walk away. Really, really valuable lesson. Just a little bit about my OpenClaw journey of being really excited about OpenClaw early on, but then starting to find that it was just very unreliable and I needed more reliability. And when I started using Claude Desktop and all that, it felt much more reliable. So now OpenClaw, to use an Iron Man analogy, is relegated to the robot dummy that Tony Stark built while he was in school and just gets used for very simple tasks and occasionally will chime in with some like Unreal Engine fun facts for us. I know some people are doing really, really great stuff with OpenClaw now. I think I was just more happy to start to have something like Claude as the more robust orchestrator. A few things about 5.8, the markerless mocap stuff. So live, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll pull this up. This could be a good little quick demo as I find test 5.8. Where are you? This one here, I think. That one's clean. We'll try this guy. Yeah. Just making sure I've got my MetaHuman in here. I do. Okay, I'll give you a really quick little demonstration of the LiveLink hub, which has gotten more and more robust. It came out a couple versions ago, but now it's doing some really exciting things, and I'll show you a really quick example of it. But the new thing in 5.8 that Claude is alluding to here, how do I do my projects browse? There it is. Great. While that's loading, this is referring to the fact that now you can ingest footage of an entire body and process that, not in real time, but you can use the LiveLink hub to process that, including multiple characters which is really great for, cheap mocap without requiring a full OptiTrack, Vicon, whatever kind of system. And it's pretty good, especially for a free service. I've been reasonably impressed by it. Now at Agile Lens, a lot of what we do needs to happen live and in real time. And so those are the workflows that we are mostly pursuing. And so once this loads, I'll show you a little bit of the testing I've been doing. And actually, while that's loading, let me pull up a test I was doing with Apple Vision Pro to get the face out. So Apple Vision Pro doesn't give you direct access to the face data, but you can get a persona video feed. And so whatever you're doing in Apple Vision Pro can then transfer over to a MetaHuman via LiveLink Hub. But my point here, if you're not planning on using Apple Vision Pro to be inside the world that you're inhabiting, it's really just to show that LiveLink Hub is so robust now that just about any kind of video feed can make its way over into a mocap or MetaHuman pipeline, which is fun. That's the wrong browser. And that's Claude. Where are we? Got too many browser tabs open. No, that one. And I've been using my MacBook Pro so much, I'm so used to being able to just swap things around. We're just going to do it again. UE5. Switch to this tab. There we go. Switch to this tab. Very helpful feature. And then, yes, any mesh becoming a MetaHuman, that's become really straightforward as well. And yeah, I did that very briefly here. So I downloaded, it works so fast. Actually, I can run through a few of these things really quick with the 10 minutes we have left. Let me just, so I can end on a tutorial. Let me just see if there's anything else major I want to mention from here. Speech to face, that's not super new. MCP plugin we talked about. Substrate can break some things, so be careful with that. And then this is a quick mention of a bunch of the tools that have been built that we will start to use in our classes moving forward. And then, hey, look, a live demo. Great, that's what I'm ending with. And if that's it, then it's not it. There's still a bunch more. Oh yeah, and then at the end of this, there's actually a bunch of links to the public GitHub repos that are available, and you are welcome to click on any of those if you want to explore any of those things in any more detail. And then there's QR codes too, but you can just click on the links. Again, I will give the full link here, and we'll end our little class with a quick little flyby demo. And then once more, just one final time, if anyone has not filled out our little poll, please do fill out our little poll, and I have to keep adding the HTTPS to it. Okay. Couple quick things I will show as we say we're done here. There's my little shadow puppet video of a Apple Vision Pro fake light and doing some shadow puppets. Cool use of the new light spill features. Okay, let's look at a couple things here. First of all, let me open up LiveLink Hub, which I believe is under Tools. And in here, there's a lot of cool features. Yeah, no, what you saw in that YouTube video was I was using NDI to go from OBS over into, I'll say no here, from OBS into LiveLink Hub and then being able to process that on a face. But it can be much simpler than that. So for example, I'm using a webcam right now to talk to all of you. And so I can go here and I can do a MetaHuman video source, right there. And you see it's already connected to this level and map that's happening right here. And it already sees that I've got this camera that's coming from my phone. And what I can do is just leave the defaults. It's like, okay, should we detect the face and the head pose, all that stuff? Yes, sure. And then I'll just say the subject name is Alex, and I'll hit connect. And what should happen, assuming, yeah, we'll get a green checkbox. And if we want to see exactly what's being ingested, I can click down here on Alex, and then go down here to trackers, and you can see, I don't know how big that is. Oh, look, we can go bigger. No, that doesn't make it bigger. that looks like a full screen button. It just says reset monitor view, but it's getting tracking data from my face. And so this can come from any video source at all. It can be pre-recorded, it can be live. And then while that's happening, then over here, I can go over to the MetaHuman here. And as long as he has used LiveLink on and use ARKit on, he should respond to that data. Let me just make sure that it's coming in correctly. Yeah, it's right there. Sometimes if it doesn't work, you just have to go into simulate mode. Oh, although this one, you know what, this guy might have something else going on because I've got this other plugin, which might be taking over it right now. Let me try deleting that if I can. Unless it won't let me. Well, let's go simulate and see if this does anything. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, so there we go. In simulate mode, it's working, and you can see as I move my head, that should look pretty good. Now, of course, moving my entire torso isn't going to do much besides make him gently sway in place, but we are getting all the rotation data and all the stuff that used to be more relegated to using the LiveLink face app. So that's pretty cool. So that's a quick one, quick flyby. That only took a minute. And then I'll show you really quickly, if we wanted to create a MetaHuman from a mesh, you know, we'll try it with a fresh character too, because this is pretty fast. I'll do this in I created a folder for this somewhere. MH exports. No, it is called whatever. I'll just make it a new character. I'm going to say folder, import. Cool. And then I'll open Fab. And by the way, I've got another plugin that lets you do much more complicated searches of Fab. It's called Forage. That should be coming out soon. Again, will be available to anyone taking classes, and it allows you to find like more detailed things. So like, for example, if I just type in a pose, like I'm trying to find a character that is in a pose, and the plugin I have is a little bit more intelligent about how it searches for things. And so it can figure this data out better and will actually find things that are in a pose. But we can find a character, and we will make sure that it is free, price, only show free products. Really good little pro tip there for using Fab. And then I'll just look for any character, ideally one that's stylized. How about this guy? Actually, I'm not sure if it needs to be a pose, but this guy could be kind of interesting. Let's try downloading him. Oh no, he costs money. Why does it say that could be free? Maybe he's free only if you're an indie developer. Let's grab, and ideally they should be fairly close to naked, or like you want to be able to get their body as much as possible. Okay, so there's this guy. He doesn't have much of a face, which can make for some interesting results, but let's throw him in anyway. Okay, so we got him here. He lives there. We'll just make sure he looks okay in the scene. Oh yeah, okay, no, this is the one we already did. Okay, that's fine. We can just do it again. So he's in a pretty good A pose, but I just want you to see how quick and easy it is to do what I'm about to do here. So we'll go right click, MetaHuman character, test, open this up. And everything, for anyone who hasn't done a MetaHuman in a while, everything that used to be in the browser now just exists right here inside the editor, as long as you've downloaded the MetaHuman content pack. So, and there's actually more robust stuff you can do with, picking the clothing and all that. And it's all right here. And then eventually you just, create the rig, download the textures, and then you assemble it into a final character at a level of optimization, or you do it for UEFN, or you do it with like all the highest textures and all the LODs and all the most detail. But there's this import feature now. And so for import, notice you've got two options here. If I can get that tooltip to disappear, you can do a full character, or you can do a head and a body separately, the same way that MetaHumans are typically done. With a full character, I can just go ahead and type in free to get this guy here, and we'll see him there. You see that he's a little too short. That's okay. We can always scale things. And I can do matte cap to just see a more generic kind of material on top of there with whatever color I want. And the mesh there, same idea, right? And then whenever I'm ready, I can just do, I'm trying to find the word, assemble. Does it say assemble? No, it says auto solve. I click auto solve, and it'll say, oh yeah, we couldn't really find anything on the face, right? Of course you can find anything on the face, but it does a pretty good job here, pretty quickly, conforming to match the character, right? Now, this isn't going to work as easily if you're trying to do like a dog, a meta pet, or that kind of thing, but fairly fast, you end up with something that is pretty good. We can see the fingers are off a little bit, but unless there's something really specific about our custom meshes fingers, it's getting better. It's getting better the more time we wait. And you can see it's done a really good job of conforming to this particular shape. Now, here's where it's going to be a little bit horrifying, because our mesh does not have a proper face here. Let's see what happens when I go over to head and body. And so now we've gotten rid of the original asset. Whoops, I might need to like confirm it or something like that. Custom mesh. I think I needed to confirm that it was actually what I wanted. Let's try that again. Auto solve.
Yeah,
Yes.
it just said canceling in the bottom when you switch
Yeah,
tabs.
I saw that.
So
Okay. Yeah, so I'll hit save, or oh, maybe I didn't let it solve all the way. Once it's done with body solve. But yeah, I've seen people do this with like very stylized characters. Like, you know, metahumans get a bad rap sometimes for all looking the same or having like a certain metahuman look. And now you can go very, very stylized. If you've got a giant, you know, giant eyes, giant nose, anything that feels more like a Pixar character or something like that, you can do some really cool stuff with it now. Similarly, for anyone who saw the game Dispatch, really, really great game made in Unreal Engine, they've got like toon shading and very stylized characters, and it's all rendered with Unreal Engine. A lot of that's much easier now. There's a proper toon shader starting in 5.8, and it's great. I guess I got to wait for it to finish here before I can save it. Yeah. What else came out with 5.8? There's some new fog tools that look really good. Yeah, it's a good release. But anyway, as we wrap up here with the last couple minutes here. Oh, I didn't know the GitHub was called Forage site. Is that correct? Just making sure this is right. Landing page for Forage. Oh, okay, yeah. And this just tells you a little bit more about the plugin. It's not actually the whole plugin itself. This looks like it was more just rendered for me. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Okay. Again, you know, sometimes I'm building too many things at once and like I didn't even know this page existed. But that's fun. Stop wrestling with Fab, start building. Cool. Okay, that's done. So I think I can save it. Let me just try hitting the save. And then you'll see that the body will look nice and conformed. But just making sure there's no other save button. But the face will not. Okay, here we go. Ready? I'm gonna make the camera go to the face. Yeah, look at that. Horrifying, because it just flattened everything. It was like, I don't know where all the key points here are supposed to be. And so it just turned it into a little bit of a horrifying monster. Love it. Okay, horrifying monster. That's a pretty good place to end. Does anyone? And then of course, yeah, from here you can add, you know, the materials and do whatever you want. You can also do material overrides. So if you wanted to make sure that it maintained its pearlescent sheen or whatever, then with here texture and material overrides, you could enable that. And for the face and the body, you could start to put, you know, something else on top. I don't know if I just have a material called flat white. Yeah, there you go. And then you see it kind of like blends into there. I could do the same thing for the body. Flat white. Ta-da. Great. And then, yeah, the clothing could be whatever I want. Or actually, you know what? I'm not sure if there's a way to take the clothing off or if they always have some clothing on. We want to keep this a PG class, so I'm not going to experiment too much there. I'm not sure if we can just like remove the clothing if we want it to look a little bit more like the original mesh. In any case, we're at time. It's 1 o'clock. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Everyone who's watching the recording, thanks so much for checking this out. Hopefully, by the time you see this recording, we are going to have pricing and membership and all that stuff over at alexcoulombepresents.com/training. And thanks for hanging out, Lynn. Yeah, we hope to see you in future classes. Not just me, but a lot of the other folks here in the chat and who have dropped by today are going to be teaching alongside with me. We got some cool stuff to share. There's a lot that we've learned over our thousands and thousands of hours of using Unreal Engine collectively, and we're thrilled to have the opportunity to share it with more people through our authorized training center and gold authorized instructorship and all that good stuff. So that's it. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Andre. Thanks, Jesus. Thanks, Lynn, Jesse, yeah, Marshall. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Alex. Bye.
Bye. And enjoy the tour. Enjoy the tour, Sultan.
Yes, I'm going tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes.
Oh, tomorrow. Great. All right,
yes,
cool.
yes.
See you later.
Bye, guys.